Ladies and gentlemen, buckle up because what just detonated inside of Washington, D.C., this is bigger than anything that we saw in President Trump's first term. In fact, tonight, we're looking at a perfect storm. This is a political earthquake where three explosive storylines collide at the exact same moment. And trust me, the old guard is panicking. Dan Bongino and Kash, they didn't just walk into the FBI. They walked into a battlefield. And what they found, hidden rooms, locked servers, burn bag archives that the Biden DOJ never thought President Trump's people would ever lay eyes on again, Arctic frost, secret communications, covert ops. This is the kind of stuff that makes Comey's lawyers sweat through their suits. While this entire internal war is erupting inside the FBI, what's happening on the outside? President Donald J. Trump just torched Minnesota Governor Tim Walz for the $1 billion Somali fraud ring that even the New York Times admits happened under his watch. $1 billion gone. Children robbed, a state duped, and now Trump is done playing nice. He's axing the deportation protections. He's exposing this pipeline between Walz state agencies and the federal blind spots. And now the White House has rolled out its media offender hall of shame. That's right, guys. Publicly naming the outlets that lied for years to protect these same people. This isn't politics. This is a reckoning. And tonight, you're going to see exactly why the deep state is terrified. Hit the like button and subscribe. Now, folks, the moment Dan Bongino and Kash walked into FBI headquarters, December 2025 stopped being calm. It became a full mutiny. This is a full-scale revolt. The Biden-era holdovers, they thought that President Trump's second term would be managed, that they could bury the files and slow walk these investigations and somehow keep the covert ops culture alive behind closed doors. But those days are over now. And they already know it. Bongino, he didn't just show up to shake hands or build bridges. He showed up with a flashlight and a flamethrower. Immediately, guys. You could pretty much feel the tension. The old guard whispering, panicking, locking the doors. Meanwhile, the Trump-era reformers are saying, open it. Unlock it, turn it over. The FBI is split right down the middle. Those who want accountability and those who are terrified of what accountability will reveal. And that is why the panic is erupting, because Bongino and Kash, they're not here to play nice. They're here to clean house, and everybody inside knows it. And so now here's where things get really, really wild, because just when Comey and his people thought that the statutes of limitations dismissal saved them, Kash walked out in public and said that one sentence that pretty much sent shockwaves through Washington, D.C. We have numerous options, and we're executing all of them. So as of December 2nd, 2025, that isn't a threat. That is a roadmap. In fact, Trump's FBI is now no longer handcuffed to Merrick Garland, Lisa Monaco, and every bureaucrat that spent 4 years blocking access to files, burn bags, sealed boxes, and this infamous Arctic frost archive. All of it is now open for review. Every suppressed report, every internal communication, every abandoned lead. And the moment that Kash hinted at this upcoming wave of actions timed right after Thanksgiving, Comey's allies went into meltdown because they already know if Trump's team digs deep enough, something big is about to come back up. And so now when Dan Bongino and Kash, they were finally escorted into the restricted room, the one that was whispered about for years inside the bureau, you could practically feel the temperature drop. This wasn't some back office storage closet. This was a digital vault, a sealed chamber that's packed with Arctic frost files, burn bag scans, suppressed reports, and internal communications that the Biden DOJ never expected Trump's people to touch again. I'm talking about illegal surveillance polls, unapproved FISA requests, internal notes that contradict sworn testimony. This is the kind of evidence that doesn't just cause trouble, it topples careers. And Kash said the quiet part out loud. If Comey's name is in these burn bags, it's game over. And speaking of things that come out of nowhere and blindside families, let me tell you about something important. Your family shouldn't have to deal with denied claims, surprise bills, or coverage gaps that you didn't know you had. Chapter prevents that by reviewing your Medicare plan and strengthening your Medicare coverage before chaos hits. Now, most people are taking that burden off their family immediately. Most people are already dialing the phone number down below on your screen. Phone number is 909-563-8279 or by visiting askchapter.org/Ron. Oh, and of course, this is a completely 100% free service for the Ron Yates community. Oh, and look, this isn't just me saying this. So Paul Ellis left me a comment saying, at least you saved me $265 A month on medication. Thanks, chapter. Paul, I just want to say thank you so much, my friend, for sharing that. Saving $265 a month. I mean, that's life-changing for a lot of people. I'm just saying, this is really powerful to hear these real experiences from real viewers just like you who took action and protected themselves and their families. And so now we need to talk about the part of the story that really makes Trump supporters absolutely furious, and it makes the deep state crowd sweat bullets, because the reason Comey wasn't charged earlier wasn't a lack of evidence. It was a sabotage from within. So Pam Bondi didn't even step into the DOJ until February. By then, Eric Siebert, a holdover embedded since January 1st, 2025, had already stalled, slow-walked, and suffocated the case. And so while the clock ticked down toward the September 30th statute deadline, Comey's own son-in-law was working inside the same office. Now imagine that. Imagine that. Yes, Lindsay Halligan was finally appointed, but by then she had mere days. I'm talking days to attempt to assemble a historic indictment. And the final blow? A procedural technicality that invalidated the appointment under judicial review rules. But here's the twist, guys. Even though the legal window closed, the investigations still haven't. And this is what terrifies them the most. And so when Dan Bongino said, I didn't come here for money, I don't want friends. If you need a friend in DC, get a dog. The old guard inside the Bureau froze, because that was the moment that they realized that Trump didn't just put a former agent in charge. He put a man with nothing to lose and no one to protect in charge. Now, this isn't the soft, politically cautious FBI leadership that we saw under Comey or under Christopher Wray, if you remember him. This is a man openly telling corrupt prosecutors, rogue agents, political operatives, and pretty much anyone tied to Jack Smith, Brennan, or even the Minnesota pipeline, we're coming and we're not stopping. So Bongino's entire posture sends one message. There will be no backroom deals, no second chances. Somebody's going to jail. In fact, I think somebody needs to be going to prison, if you ask me. No protection for people who use the FBI as a political weapon. And for the first time in years, the corrupt are looking over their shoulders because Bongino means it. And so while this war erupts inside the FBI, another bomb detonated in Minnesota. A $1 billion fraud scandal involving Somali-linked nonprofits, fake meal programs, and these sham organizations siphoning taxpayer money that was supposed to feed children during COVID. No allegations, no conspiracies, confirmed by the New York Times, the same outlet that once protected Walz at all costs. And so Walz, he knew something was wrong. Whistleblowers tried to raise alarms, oversight flags were flashing red, but instead of investigating, Walz and his administration dismissed the critics, smeared opponents as racist, and then blocked scrutiny in the name of political correctness. But the scandal was already too big to hide, bigger than Minnesota's entire Department of Corrections budget. And now the truth is out. Trump is livid, Minnesotans are furious, and the media can no longer protect Walz from the collapse that he created. And so now here is where the threads start to connect and why Comey's circle is sweating. Because this $1 billion Minnesota fraud, it didn't happen in a vacuum. This grew under a Biden-era FBI that refused to act, refused to investigate, and refused to follow up on basic oversight red flags. I mean, local whistleblowers, they were ignored. Federal agents, they were told to stand down, and any attempt to question the Somali-run nonprofits was labeled politically sensitive. And so what does that mean? It means that the fraudsters knew that they were insulated. It means that people inside the Bureau, they knew that touching Minnesota could trigger political backlash. And it also means that the old guard at the FBI helped create an environment where fraud could explode uncontested. And so this is why Dan Bongino and Kash's arrival feels like a meteor strike to the old Bureau structure, because for the first time, real oversight is actually walking in the door. And the people who let Minnesota burn, they're finally in the crosshairs. You know, what happened in Minnesota kind of reminds me of something much closer to home. So last year, a friend of mine, 62 years old, opened a letter saying that he owed money on a credit card that he never opened. Now that was suspicious. He thought it was a mistake. Up until the next letter came, and then another letter came. Someone had been using his identity for 6 months before he even realized it. Now, this is the danger that most people never see until it's too late. And this is exactly what identity theft protection services like LifeLock watch for. This is the stuff that's happening behind the scenes while you're living your life. And so right now, you can try it for 30 days free and see how exposed your information already is. Now, most people regret waiting. Most people check before the letter starts. So click Click the link in the description down below this video and get your free 30-day trial today. And as all of this explodes, President Donald J. Trump just made the most consequential immigration decision of his second term, and he made it with zero hesitation. So in the wake of this $1 billion fraud and this shocking attack on National Guard members by an Afghan refugee, Trump ended special deportation protections for Somali nationals in Minnesota effective immediately. There was no waiting period. There was no bureaucratic stall tactic. There was no negotiation with Governor Walz. In fact, Trump framed it as a return to sanity. This is a policy shift protecting American taxpayers, restoring security, and ensuring that communities devastated by fraud or crime are never ignored again. And it sent a shockwave through Minnesota's political establishment. Because Walz can't hide behind buzzwords now. He can't deflect with accusations of racism. Not when $1 billion vanished under his watch. Trump's message was clear. The free pass is over. So what happens when $1 billion fraud detonates under your watch, the New York Times turns on you, and Trump unleashes federal heat? You panic on live television. So Tim Walz, he sat on CNN trying to spin this disaster into something racist, like a racist attack or something like that, pretending that calling out massive fraud somehow targets an entire community. But the anchor wasn't buying it. Not even CNN. Guys, not even CNN. They pressed him on how a fraud larger than Minnesota's entire corrections budget slipped through the cracks. Walz rambled, he dodged, he pivoted to talking points, but none of it worked because the facts were staring the nation in the face. Meanwhile, Trump hammered him from the White House, demanding accountability, calling the scandal one of the worst failures of leadership in modern state history, and reminding Americans that children were robbed while Walz ignored warning signs and warning after warning. This isn't racism, this is reality, and Walz is drowning in it. And just when the media thought that they could salvage the narrative, Trump dropped another nuke. The White House Media Offender Hall of Shame. This is a permanent record of misleading, biased, exposed journalism. Now, this isn't a blog. This is not a press release. This is an official White House platform cataloging every deceptive article, clip, and segment that was pushed by outlets like CNN, The Washington Post, NBC Politico. It is genius. And yes, even Whoopi Goldberg's rants. Yes, Whoopi Goldberg, guys. So corporate media, they had a meltdown. They claimed that Trump was delegitimizing journalism, but no, he was exposing the years of misinformation that they fed the American public. And for the first time, reporters didn't get to hide behind networks or editorial boards. Their mistakes, their distortions, and their straight up lies are archived publicly, searchable, time-stamped, and categorized. Now, Trump's message is crystal clear. If you twist the truth, the White House will shine a spotlight on you. And right on cue, the smear machine activated, because when these corrupt insiders know that the walls are closing in, they don't fight fair, they fight dirty. Suddenly, this mysterious Kash Patel dossier appears, not exposing crimes, not revealing misconduct. No, they attacked him over a jacket, a freaking jacket, guys. I mean, they leaked these claims that he threw a fit because he didn't have an FBI windbreaker when stepping off of a plane after rushing to the site where his friend Charlie Kirk had just been killed. They twisted respect into theatrics because they needed anything to distract from the Arctic Frost files that might have had their names in them. And then they came for Dan Bongino. That's right. So these leaked emails suggested that he helped censor Epstein documents, emails from before he even started his job somehow. He had to publicly state his start date to debunk the lie. I mean, it was pathetic. It was just so desperate, and it proved one thing. The deep state always attacks hardest right before their secret surface. And now everything converges. Comey's team thought that the statutes of limitation saved them. Walz thought political correctness would shield him. The media thought that they could frame the narrative. The old FBI holdovers thought that they could bury the past. But December 2025 is not 2016. Trump is president again. Bongino is in the building. Kash controls the investigative choke points. And the media's lies, they're being cataloged on a government website for the entire nation to see. $1 billion fraud ring that was exposed. Arctic Frost files unlocked, burn bag archives resurfacing, a mutiny inside the FBI, and Trump torching every weak point in the system, one blow at a time. This is not a scandal. This is the reckoning that they never thought would come. Because what they buried for 8 years, Trump's team is digging up right now.